Welcome to Life Culture Sports with your host, Greg Armstrong. You can find me on iTunes at Life Culture Sports, also on SoundCloud, also on Life Culture Sports, and visit the website lifeculturesports.com for additional content. Okay, everybody, we're going to get into today's topic, which is integration. And this is just an observation. I live in New York City, and this is just an observation. I realize that it feels like the only people who are truly integrated in New York are black people, and from a disadvantage also. Years ago when we were segregated, we were forced to have our own businesses and our own supermarkets and in markets, period. We had to have our own entertainment. We had to have our own things, because if we didn't, we would starve. We wouldn't have any services. We had to provide our own services because at the time, the white supremacists, and yes, at that time, that's exactly what it was. They would not let us. We had to take care of ourselves. Basically, we had to grow up as a society and be dependent on ourselves. Now, once integration happened, we figured, okay, we can give up our businesses and go and join the dominant society. That was a grave mistake. Now, since then, you have Oklahoma, you have Tulsa, where people had their own communities and own businesses, and we know the story of that. It got burned down to the ground. Some say the government was a part of it. We definitely know it was definitely terrorism and racism. The white people came in there and destroyed everything that they had built. But since then, there hasn't been a concerted effort by black people to be independent. Now, I want to go back to integration. When I go in different neighborhoods, and let me tell you, I've lived in the Bronx, I've lived in Manhattan, Washington Heights, and I've lived in Midtown Manhattan, I've lived in Bayside, Queens, I've lived in Brooklyn. So I'm well versed on New York City. And of course, when you live in New York City, you really don't have to. New York City has everything. That's what makes New York City great. It has everything. You don't have to go anywhere. You can eat food from Turkey. You can eat food from anywhere on the globe. They have it in Manhattan. They have restaurants all over Manhattan where you can experience different cultures. It's actually awesome. But one thing I've noticed in my travels, if you go to 32nd Street in Manhattan, they call it on the west side, it's called Koreatown. And there's a lot of Korean restaurants and Korean shops over there. There's a place in the Bronx in Fordham Road, right off of Fordham Road, where they have a small African market. There's an African community there. Also in Harlem, in 116th Street. I don't know if it's still the same, but there was a large African presence there, and there was a lot of African shops. In Brooklyn, you have Williamsburg, where you have a large Jewish community, and you have a lot of Jewish-centered stores owned by Jewish people. You have Chinatown in New York City, where basically almost everything, including the grocery stores, are owned by Chinese. You have Little Italy in the Bronx, and Little Italy in Manhattan, but Little Italy in the Bronx everything is owned by Italians. Nothing wrong with that. Now, all of these people are integrated into United States or America society. They're integrated. However, they still have their own economy and business. Now, let's travel to the black neighborhoods. Before Harlem was fully gentrified, we did have some black shops there. We had a few. Actually, at one point, we had a lot. I used to always go to Harlem and eat soul food restaurants and visit there was a record shop that still sold vinyl on, I think it was 125th and 7th or 8th Avenue. And there was a few shops. But now if you go to historically, I have to say historically, because most of the black neighborhoods now in Brooklyn and in Harlem have been kind of gentrified. I mean, before you would see one or two white people, now you see every other person is white. And I have no problem with that. However, if black people if they had owned things in their community, this would have been great. Oh, white people moving in, bringing more business to the community. But that's not what's happening. And that's not what has happened. What has happened is white people move into the community and white businesses is moving into the community and other businesses are moving into the community. Now, this is not about gentrifying. This podcast here, it's about integration. However, like I said, the black people are the only ones that are really fully integrated. When I walk around Best-Eye in Brooklyn, Crown Heights in Brooklyn, when I go to the store up and down Nostrand Avenue and all the way down to Bedford Avenue, I don't see many black-owned businesses. You know, you have your I don't know if they're Arab. I don't like to say Arab. Middle Eastern owned grocery stores. They like took over for the Hispanics, it seems like, in a lot of areas. And you see a lot of those stores. You see your Chinese restaurants. You see your Chinese nail salons, things like that. You see all of these different things. And you might see like a barbershop. You might see a hair salon, a couple of those that are black owned. But again, when I go, there's a place in Brooklyn, I forgot exactly where, and it's basically Asian, and I mean Indian Asian people. And every shop around there is Indian. When you go in Chinatown, every shop is Chinese. When you go in Koreatown, every shop is Korean. And nobody's saying, and only people working for them people are people like them. And nobody's saying, hey, that's reverse racism. Oh my God, they're not hiring anybody white or black or Spanish. They only hiring their own people. And speaking of Hispanic, which was a term made up, but I'm just gonna go with that so you know exactly who I'm talking about. In New York City, a lot of the supermarkets are ran by the Dominicans. They have found a niche and a place where they can call their own. Now, one thing I want to say is there are industries that are distinctively black, that if we would have came at this, and we still can come at this from a business perspective, we wouldn't have a lot of the economic issues we have now. We should completely own hip hop. Everything to do with hip hop, but not just the artist. We should be in charge of the videos. We should be in charge of the business side, the distribution. We should have, I mean, there's a few, because one thing I notice in black society, we have a lot of individuals doing well, but the group is not doing well. And a lot of different cultures feel the opposite. Like, I'm not doing well if my family's not doing well. If my family's doing well, but I don't have much, we good. I mean, that's how a man feels with his family. A man with his immediate family, if his son is eating, his son is dressed well, his son is getting his education, his wife is doing well, and maybe he doesn't have a lot of money for things, he feels like a success. What kind of man feels like a success when his family is struggling? So let me take this to a larger context. You a black man, you're doing well, and your family is suffering. You're not really doing well. You cannot be doing well because your family is suffering. But anyway, back to what I was saying. In hip hop, I would say this is definitely something created by black people. And now at the beginning, I understand a lot of us didn't have the business sense, and we had to go to other entities to get this done. However, if you look at all the things surrounding hip hop, how everybody who is not black that has gotten rich off of hip hop, can you imagine any industry that's primarily of another race where other races are getting more richer than the people who created it? And I say this for the people who may say, oh, well, oh, that's racism. You're trying to say it should be all black. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that point to me of something, for example, let's say salsa music. Let's say salsa music or merengue. Dominican, Puerto Rican people make this music. are there black people running their companies? Now, don't get me wrong. There's a dominant culture that runs just about every society, but you can still have a large piece of your development. And what I'm saying is hip hop was a means to pull a lot of us, and it has pulled a lot of us out of our dire situation, but it could have been an economic base. Radio stations, TV stations have been built off of hip hop, but not belonging to us. Now, let me move on to something else we dominate. We dominate the NBA. There was a black pro league back in the days. Once we integrated that pro league, all of its talent went to the dominant societies league. So now we dominate this league, but most of the agents are not black. Most of the agents are white. The majority of owners are white. Let's go to the NFL. 65 to 70% of its players are black. You would think that maybe 65 to 70% of its executives are black, but no. I would say about 95% of its executives, coaches, agents are white. Now, again, like I said, show me an industry that one race dominates and is the talent and is the reason why money is being made, and they're not reaping the benefits. Their people are not reaping the benefits of their efforts. So this is not about saying that we should only have black people there. No, this is about equality, true equality. This is about economics. So, or finance. So when I look at this, imagine golf. Golf is largely a white sport. Let's be real. It's largely a white sport. Do you see Hispanic people doing the commentating? Or Asian people? Or black people? I'm sure these golfers have agents and people who take care of their money. Do you see any black people dominating that? Anything that's dominated with white is still going to be dominated business-wise with white people. So this is where I say where I feel like integration felt like a trick, because every other culture has kept their independence while integrating. It's like I have my own house, which is a little small house, because you wouldn't give me anything. So I move and I get my little small house. Yeah, it's not the best house in the world, but it's a nice house and I'm happy. I'm doing my own thing, and possibly I can grow it. I can grow and save my money and buy a bigger house and keep buying a bigger house on top of that, and literally grow and have enough space and comfort for my people. But then the person with the big house, the mansion, says, hey, Greg, I've been thinking. I've been keeping you out for a long time. You can join along. You can join us. You can come on over to the dominant side. So you say, okay, and you give up what you've been building. There was a Negro baseball league. Do you think these Hispanic players will be playing for a Major League Baseball if there was a Negro baseball league? Or better yet, more black people would be playing in this league? So we gave up our house to join the big house. That's what we did. We gave up what we had to join the big house. And if you look at other cultures and other races, they haven't done that. They haven't given up their side. They haven't given up. They'll integrate. Yes, you can come over here and you can eat at my business. Yes, we can do things together as partners. I can even work for you. But at the end of the day, I can go back to my people. If things don't go as pleased as I want, I can go back to my people and get hired within my people, because we have an economy. We have an economy. We have our own. Oh, I didn't even mention barbershops, and we should own anything to deal with cutting hair and hair, the women with the hair. We should own all of that, because this is basically an industry that's ours. This is not a shared industry. This hair is a big thing with black women. They should own and operate the entire thing. But we don't. Now, I'm not blaming integration. It's not about blaming. It's just about observation. I'm just observing the results of integration, and integration did not mean close your businesses and go and join somebody else's business. It meant we can become partners now. I have my business, you have your business. Maybe we can work together. Maybe my business can get a little bigger because of your help. And then you'll make money in turn because of working with me. But it should not mean I give up what I have and just join you, because then I become subservient to you. And that's what's happened to black people. We have become subservient to everybody who has an economy. Not just white people, everybody who has an economy, we are subservient to them. You know, you look in black neighborhoods, you got Chinese restaurants. By the way, Chinese restaurants in every neighborhood. I just need to say that. They don't play that. And we have to get back into owning things. But as a group, because I realize that we're very individualistic. You know, we do things like one person's rich over here, one person's rich over here. This is not group. It's not a group becoming rich. You know, so it's an issue. You know, so when I think of integration, I feel like it was a massive fail for black people. It was a coup for everybody else. Definitely a coup for white people, where they could take your talents and market it to other white people in the masses and get paid off for it. And you're just a single star. And what happens is when they don't like you no more, they get rid of you and get the next star individual black person. But we don't own the industry. Now, what can we do to begin to fix this? I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. We have areas of black society that are still dominated by us. We just need to start to own in those areas. You know, I mean, there needs to be a union amongst black businesses, especially if they're in the same business. For example, hair salons. I've heard that women have had problems with buying hair. You know, they go to other countries and the people don't want to sell to them. They don't want to deal with the women or anything like that. If they had a coalition, if they had a union, and they're going to buy hair, for example, if I'm a major manufacturer of this hair and you want to come to me to buy hair and you're saying, hey, I want to spend $10,000 on this hair and stuff like that, I'm saying, okay, you know, but I might, you know, the price is not going to be great. 10,000 is all right. But if y'all group together, 10 different businesses spend $10,000, now you come in with some real cheese. Now you come in with some real bank. You know, hey, look, we all getting together. We got $2 million. We want to buy $2 million worth of this, worth of that. Now you can do something. And I got this idea from the Dominican. I don't know what it's called, but it's the supermarkets. The Dominicans have like a union or a committee where they come together and they basically buy together, and that ensures them lower prices. I'm trying to find out if I can find that now. Nah, I hate to do that on the air. You know, it's. I was reading about that a while back. I wonder if they still have that, because Dominicans own Bravo and other supermarkets like that in New York City. I read an article where a lot of Dominicans were doing business together to make everything better for their business. But this is not a new idea, you know, as far as businesses who have, basically, if you think about the NBA, you think about the NFL, this is a group of businesses that work together for the betterment of all their businesses. So all I'm talking about is something like that. Like, basically, we're going to get together. Yeah, we're in competition, but we're going to get together for the betterment of all of us. And then we can go back to our competition, you know. So, again, integration. It feels like black people are the most welcoming people when it comes to that. You know, hey, you want to live amongst us? Great, you know. But while I see integration, I gotta say this. I see these dumb niggas running around acting a goddamn fool, you know. And I'm talking about, when I say this, I'm not even talking about the youth. I'm talking about 40, 45-year-old men on little bicycles, hanging in front of grocery stores, still trying to be little young dudes, and they're not leading the youth. I just want to say, and this is on a separate note from integration, them young dudes don't respect you. You see, I'm a father. I have 2 children. The young people see me with my baby boy. They respect me. Why? Because I'm handling my business with my son, and I don't sit up there and try to be with them. I say what's up, I say peace, I keep it moving. If I need to tell them something about what they doing out there that's kind of foul or anything like that, I'll take the time out and I'll say, listen, man, that's not good what you're doing, young man. You need to check that. And they respect me for that. I don't go and try to tell them what to do, but I just say, yo, listen, young man, that shouldn't get down like that. And I explain a little bit and I keep it moving. No lectures, But I just wanted to say that as a side note. Now I want to get back to the integration. Again, it feels like integration has failed us. And I don't mean that we need to go back to segregation. All I'm saying is that we can be integrated as a people, but we need to have our own. How... Like, you can't look a man in the eye when you are working for that man. You need that man. At the end of the day, he might respect you. Yeah, okay. But the best relationship is when both people have leverage. That's the best type of relationship. If you lose me, it hurts you. If I lose you, it hurts me. That's the best kind of relationship you can have, with its leverage. The worst kind of relationship is when leverage is on one side, because the side that doesn't have leverage is subservient. Period. There's no other way to look at that. So people need to think about that and think about black society and all the stuff that's going on with black people being murdered and mistreated and things like that. The masses and the people who do things to us know they can't be punished. They're not going to be punished. Even the people who are black, who speak out against black people, they won't be punished. There's no way for us to punish these people. They don't need us. Let's be real. Black people who become successful in news, media, sports, they don't need black people, because black people are not the reason why they became successful. That's why it's important for us to have our own, where we can excommunicate people from our circle when they do things that's a detriment to our people. White people do it. That's why you notice you don't hear white people out here talking bad and greasy about their own. You don't hear that. You don't hear Chinese people say, I hate Chinese people. They always doing stupid shit. We the only ones that always put it on TV. I hate black people. We can't get along. We can't do this. Nah, man. Nah. We lead the league in complaining. We the number one complainers. Look, we need solutions. We need that money. But we need that money with a goal of the group. One guy can't get paid. We all got to get paid. We all have to have. And then we can start really building up our communities and educating our children. Let me tell you, it goes really deep. Because once we became integrated, we started going to their schools. And their schools, they're not teaching our children the truth. They're not teaching our children what really happened and what kind of people we were prior to slavery. They're not telling us about all the great American inventors who happen to be black. They're not telling us that. The other day I said something simple. I said to my son, did you know a black man invented the traffic light? He didn't even know that. And that's one of the most important inventions of the 20th century. But he doesn't know anything about that. And when you integrate and you have nothing, you're at the mercy of the people you decided. We didn't integrate, we joined them. We didn't integrate, we joined the dominant society. We didn't integrate. It's a little different. It wasn't a 50-50 thing. We joined them and said, hey, give us a job. Let us work at your company. Teach us from your schools. But when we were segregated and we had these other schools, we taught things from our perspective. And it's not about teaching. It's not about teaching. White people are bad and white people are this. And no, it's about teaching all the history, because it's first of all, it's a disadvantage to all people when you don't know the history correctly. Now, because the dominant society own everything, they're whitewashing all of history. As far as you know, Egyptians are white. Because this is what can happen when you don't have your own. It's simple as that. This is just about equality and justice and fairness here. So it's simple as that. It's simple as that. People want to keep you distracted with all these other things going on. It's simple as that. All I'm saying is the industries that we already dominate, we should look to dominate in the other areas of those industries. We need to own the studios that make the music. Then we need to go deep in and owning the studios that make the music. We need to start making the equipment that makes the music and the programs that make the music. You see, because even when I go to, I've seen TV show sets and movie sets where it's mainly black actors, but everybody behind the camera and all the other production assistants are all white. I mean, you'll have other ethnicities. I'm not going to say it's like rampant racism. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the majority is white. If you look at all of the new TV shows coming in the fall season, I was going through it. I'm like, wow, white, couple of blacks, white, one Hispanic, white, no Asian, white. And I'm like, that's because they own everything. And just a side note before I get out of here, Stacey Dash is a dumbass. And it's old news. It's old news. As you see, she's not really on Fox News that much anymore because they don't really need her, because there's two white people running for president, by the way. Just a note to people who listen to Stacey Dash saying that it shouldn't be a BET. There's a station. There's more than a few stations in America, Univision, where they don't even speak English at all. It's a U.S. company. It's a U.S. station, but they speak no English. They're like, fuck you. This is our shit. They have an economy just based on that one station. They don't have to do anything. They do what they want to do. There are Asian stations, quite a few, that are based here in America, where they speak either Chinese or whatever the Indian dialect is. I don't know that one. Or Bangladesh or Bangladeshi. I think that's what it's called. And nobody says anything. So it's okay to have a black network owned and operated by black people, being that we're like the biggest freaking consumers of TV. Again, all I'm saying is in the areas that we dominate, we need to really dominate. And nobody's going to have a problem with that. I mean, some people may have a problem, but so what? Because once we get that leverage, it don't matter. On that note, this brings us to the end of the Life Culture Sports Podcast. Again, with your host, Greg Armstrong. Music on this podcast is brought to you by bensound.com. And also, you can find me at Greg1918 on Twitter. You can also go to Life Culture Sports Facebook page. Once again, I'll speak to y'all later. Peace.